Divorce lawyers of Reddit. What's the most outrageous reason someone filed for divorce? Was allowed chewer at the dinner table. He developed a complex and literally needed out as he couldn't bear to eat with her. This sounds like a scene for B plot. She's an audible masticator. George. I can't handle it. I've been taking her for soft food, soup, noodles. Once I told her this breakfast place had the best oatmeal in town, just so she wouldn't order the French toast. This is more of an Elaine subplot. Finds the perfect guy, but he's a noisy chewer. And then, yada yada yada. But, you yada yada jadded over the best part. No, I mentioned the bisque. Taught the parakeet certain cuss words for his wife. Ha ha ha. The parrot lives with the man now. I thought about going towards family law, and then I realized I'm gonna have to deal with things such as who's gonna get the parrot and grandma's vase. Nope. Now you see that technically falls under bird law. Says the guy who knows nothing about the law. I worked for a law office, where the owner would talk about the man who sued for divorce, because his wife would no longer allow him to use a loaded gun as a marital aid. She had apparently agreed to it at some point, and was fine with the gun, as long as it was empty, but that just wasn't good enough for him. Eater, since some folks need it spelled out. By marital aid, I mean a dildo. He wanted to stick a loaded gun in her vagina as part of their sex routine. She was down for it, as long as the gun was empty, but that wasn't good enough, and he thought this was reasonable grounds for divorce. Also, I wasn't trying to be pretentious by saying marital aid, I just really didn't want to have to type out that he wanted to use a loaded gun as a dildo, but I guess nobody's leaving this thread happy today. Fuck scared emoji. Yeah, that's fucking terrifying. My client was the outrageous one, so my heart went out to his poor wife. He had OCD which manifested primarily financially, so he made their lives a penny pinching hell. Examples: he was obsessed with avoiding unnecessary driving, wear and tear on the car, gas expenses, so he cut the whole family's hair at home, and never let them eat at a restaurant, or go to the movies. Weirdest of all, he kept one toilet paper roll on him at all times, and you had to get one square from him before you could go to the bathroom. He never gave more than one square. Wife finally got fed up and left him when 1. He gave her bangs during an in-home haircut, and 2. Their daughter was so traumatized by the toilet paper thing they couldn't potty train her. Also, he hated paying his divorce lawyer bill. He was also an old-fashioned mega Catholic who considered divorce a deadly sin. He viewed my whole job as an unnecessary and sinful expense. Holy shit, 1 square? 1 fucking square? Does he shit rabbit pellets? That guy is a monster. Yeah, that got me too. If I was the wife, I'd start wiping myself with his shirts or something. He doesn't like it? Well, give me some fucking toilet paper, then. I've heard socks are good for this. My dad was a divorce lawyer. He had a client who wanted to divorce her husband for 2 reasons. He did not have enough hair on his chest. He did not drive fast enough. Keep in mind this was in the 70s when chest hair was a bit more important. Shit, yeah. It would have been embarrassing to show up late at a pool party and your man not having a decent chest bush. A luscious mane of hair from my chest pubis down to my ball throw. Wasn't the reason, but it happened during the course of the divorce. Neither side would follow the court orders. When they had to go back to court, they were fighting over a pistol and the man's grandmother's bowls. I assumed for weeks that these bowls were some sort of heirloom or expensive china. When they finally brought the bowls in to swap, they were fucking Tupperware. Holy shit. I read this as grandmother's bowels and was very confused / concerned. I dropped into court to visit a family friend who was a judge and had quite a treat. A wealthy area farmer and his wife were in court that day fighting about possession / assets. The judge had had enough. After briefly reviewing the history of their case, he offered the couple one last opportunity to retire to a conference room and come to an agreement. Both refused. Their lawyers were clearly as weary as the judge. The judge then asks each party which room in their house was their favorite room. She picked the kitchen, and he picked his gun room. The judge then informed them that, because the matter had dragged on for so long with both behaving like children, he was going to decide the matter of the property. She was awarded everything in the kitchen, and he the gun room. Everything else was to be sold at auction with the profits equally divided. Then the judge told them, now neither of you is happy, right? They clearly were not, haha. She was kidnapped in Mexico and he refused to pay ransom. Eventually her family managed to pay, and she was left on the side of the road. It is not outrageous as in petty, but outrageous as how absurd that is. Honey, I love you, but we agreed to save up money so we can purchase a house. Your ransom would really set us back. I don't really think I can add a ransom line item to this month's budget. Everything is already super tight. Edit. I'm curious if you have a line item for added gold, because if not it seems like reckless spending. Edit 2. Reckless. How embarrassing. Edit 3. Thank God my top comment isn't about being a cam girl anymore. Now honey, you know the family policy. We do not negotiate with terrorists. Colleague handled a case where money was not an issue, but the kids were. Neither parent wanted them. My parents always told each other when they were fighting that if they got divorced the other had to keep me and my brothers. On a positive note, you kept your parents' marriage together. My mom worked in abuse and neglect counseling and juvenile justice. There are a lot more cases like this than I'd care to admit. Parents divorce and neither side wants the kid. Some of them are that neither side wants a kid, but will fight over another kid. If ends up totally screwing them over because they have to live with the fact that their parents didn't want them. I had some friends get divorced because she legit hated Dale Earnhardt and he legit hated Jeff Gordon. NASCAR fans from 1995 to 2005 would not consider this a petty issue. Oh man, this brings back childhood memories. Kind of related story that totally doesn't matter. Growing up my dad was big into NASCAR and loved Dale Earnhardt. Hated Jeff Gordon of course. I loved Dale too, but I also secretly loved Jeff and hid it. I must have been around 6, 8-ish. One day while the race was on, I was so upset about betraying my dad or something by liking Jeff Gordon that my mom found me crying in my room. After I told her why I was upset, she went and got my dad, and he sat and told me it was okay for me to like Jeff Gordon even if he doesn't, that I'm allowed to like whatever I want that makes me happy, and that nothing more would make him happier. Then he hugged me and told me to come watch the race and cheer him on. Later that week he got me a #24 sticker to put on my mirror in my room. IDK, I don't have very many good memories in my life, but that is one of them. Edit, y'all, I'm a girl. So some of these jokes don't work lol. Your dad sounds like a good dude, at least in this story. Viraligal here. Still remember an early case I worked on. Man divorced his wife for her bingo addiction 10 to 12 times per week she went to bingo. She was 82, he was 86. But the all-time greatest to 20 somethings. They were irreconcilable because he kept smoking her weed stash when she wasn't home. To be fair, him smoking all her weed multiple times, assumingly after some kind of a hey man don't smoke all my weed conversation, is a pretty valid reason to not be able to trust someone. Yeah, my mother-in-law and her husband were living in my house for a few months until they got their housing situation sorted out. After the couple of weeks or so I thought my weed stash was a little light. After about a month I realized there was no way I was going through it that fast. Then one day I left work early and found them in the garage taking rips from my barn. They aren't allowed to be alone in my house anymore. Like shit, I would have given you some weed if you had asked. They didn't even have the decency to replace the weed with something else. PFFT. At least teenage me drank half my dad's vodka and replaced it with water. The dog he bought me pissed on the carpet. To be fair, it really tied the room together. That's just like your opinion, man. I was a legal assistant when this case came in, but this lady divorced her husband of 2 months because he got her an iPad case for her birthday instead of the expensive jewelry she wanted. I dated a girl that didn't speak to me for a day or two because I got her an iPad instead of jewelry. Her reasons was because I could just use yours. I'm glad that relationship is over. Seems like an expensive way to find out your girlfriend is a selfish jerk. Edit. Okay guys, I get it, iPads aren't that expensive in comparison to other things. It's all relative, people. iPads are expensive for some people and not for others. Edit 2. Now you're complaining about the people complaining about it not being expensive. Make up your minds, people. He had an argument with the new in-laws during the wedding and moved out at around 5 AM during the first night. Marriage speedrun. Your princess is in another castle.